Do you think that, sorry, do you think that award shows have gotten more or less important for an actor?
No, award shows are, I mean, credible award shows are extremely important for an actor. They define an actor's work, the body of work that he's done or she's done. Especially when it's the kind of awards that have international recognition, it's very important. Yes, of course.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Always Watching. Today, I'm going to discuss my experience covering the green carpet at the IIFA Awards and how I nearly lost my voice. The IIFA Awards are basically the Oscars of India. It's a weekend extravaganza which celebrates the best in film and television. This year, it took place in Jaipur, and for anyone hesitant about visiting India, I strongly suggest starting out in Jaipur. I was Ubering at all hours of the day, all hours of the night, and I felt incredibly comfortable. The people in Jaipur were really kind and the service was exceptional. And my only regret is I wish I had more time to explore. My motivation for going was in part to sightsee and also in part to redeem myself from last year. What movie would you recommend of yours if you had to pick one? Last year, I covered the green carpet in the UAE, and I went in with such high hopes. It was my first time covering any type of red carpet. I went in with the intention of doing what I loved, which at that time was Shah Rukh Khan. And although I had a wonderful night and I was so close to getting that interview, I could literally just taste it. It slipped right out of my hands. And this time around, I was determined to get at least a soundbite out of him. Unfortunately for me, and maybe fortunately for him, I completely lost my voice by the end of the night. Where to begin? For those of you interested, the first step is to apply. The application process is very simple. You apply for press accreditation on their website once it opens. You simply fill out a Google form and put in all the details of your publication. Maybe you have a YouTube channel, a blog, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is. And depending on your outlet, you will receive approval within a few days. Once approved, you can start to plan your visit. In terms of where to stay, I suggest you stay at a hotel that offers shuttle to and from the carpet. If not, at least stay close enough to the venue to account for traffic, especially if you plan on staying very late into the night. Once you are given press accreditation, you have access to all kinds of events, none of which you will actually have the energy for. Depending on where you live, try to get there at least a day before the event that you're covering, because you do not really want to be picking up your press badge the same day as the event. Because there's so many reporters from all around the world, it's very important that you stand out. I advise you think carefully about your outfit for the green carpet, because the more you stand out, the more likely celebs are to stop and talk to you. Something that stands out, something comfortable, bright, and most importantly, very, very cute. I bought a pair of platform sneakers, and this is from Skechers. And I think Skechers, honestly, is the best when it comes to comfortable shoes. This is actually from the Doja Cat collection. And I have to tell you, I was standing for hours and I felt nothing afterwards. My feet were perfectly fine. And it's important that your shoes have some height, especially if you're short, because you are behind a barricade and you don't really want to be fighting with other reporters. And this is something also to consider. You do need some stamina to cover this carpet. It's a very long night, mentally and physically. And so if you have trouble standing for long periods of time, this will really be a struggle. And people just randomly start coming for you as the night goes on, especially if you show any signs of weakness and you have a great spot. So you really have to be on your toes. The actual carpet is very small and quite tight. And this year it was even worse than last year because they didn't really divide the press into sections. Everyone was kind of trying their best to just get a spot. And it's first come, first serve. The earlier you get there, the better the chances. We got there around 4 p.m. and most of these stars don't even start walking till maybe 8 p.m. And so you really have to keep that in mind. I strongly advise, if you're a freelancer working alone, you hire one person in the area that can come with you. This can help you maintain your spot in case you need the bathroom, in case you need a break. I don't really recommend renting equipment, especially if you are a freelancer and you're not being sponsored by any organization. Most freelancers were just using their phone and a handheld mic. And if you are using your phone, make sure you bring a charger. It's impossible to know whether or not the stars walking the carpet will even want to give interviews. Sometimes they just walk past you. And in that case, you really have to shout. It's pretty much a Hail Mary. And unfortunately, I did not have my voice. Also, if you can attend both nights, that would be ideal, because sometimes stars will stop on the first night and not so much the second night. In terms of preparing for the actual green carpet, well, it really depends on you. If you really want to stand out, I suggest you watch all the nominated films once they are announced and try to come up with short questions that revolve around the movie. That way you're able to create a connection more authentically. For example, I asked Kriti Sanon about her performance in Dopati.
What was the most difficult part of being, because you play two roles, you're a victim and a perpetrator sometimes. Yeah. So what was that like, balancing these two roles?
It was very exciting. Yeah? Obviously, it was a nightmare for my hair and makeup team because we were switching back and forth, forth. But I think the trickiest part was to do emotional scenes with yourself because you're not really there. So you have to kind of block the other character before you start playing the other character. So I think, just acting with a body double constantly and trying to create a difference between the sisters. Sisters are actually very alike normally, the way they sound, the way they talk. Yeah. So it's difficult as an actor to create a difference then. So, and 70% of my scenes were with me.
Yeah.
So I think that was the challenging part, but that's what made it exciting. Yeah.
Tell us about.
I was also able to ask Pratik Gandhi about his role in Agni.
Film Agni was very unique in that we're used to cop dramas and police, but now we're seeing firefighters. And so what has surprised you about the reaction to your character in this film?
So I guess what surprised me is that a lot of people, we've been seeing firefighters on the jobs since our childhood, but we never knew the magnitude of the work that they do. And now I feel, when I did the film and when I got this kind of reactions from the audience, that their work largely went unrecognized, unnoticed. And that's the huge mistake and huge miss on our part as a society, I guess.
I also managed to catch Raghal Juyal, the villain in Kill.
Kill was huge. Kill was huge. And how do you think that popularity, what does that say about what does that say about the state of Indian cinema today all around the world?
I mean, can you believe that Indian cinema took that risk to make that film
Yes, it was very different.
in these times?
Yes.
So, वो एक बहुत बड़ा risk था. I'm so proud to be a part of that film. I'm so proud of that film.
It's so unique.
It's so unique, and I wish I win this today.
I hope
I also really enjoyed my conversation with Anu Priya Goninka for the movie Berlin, streaming on Z.
How has streaming affected the types of projects available to actors?
I think it's better than before. I think there was a time with parallel cinema that a lot of nuanced projects were coming in the 60s, 70s, 80s probably. But now at least people are taking, like a production house or a studio like Z takes the courage and the initiative to bring out projects which are different, which are nuanced, which are quiet. A creator like Atul Sabrawal writes a script like that and sticks to it without trying to make it entertaining. And I think it's the content and the filmmaking. Berlin is quiet, very, very, very subtle, but at the same time, beautifully intense. And you are on your seat the whole time as well. Exactly. So I think that's what good filmmaking is about, that you don't need tropes to get people's attention. You can trust the audiences to enjoy something which is interesting. Yeah.
And sometimes you can kind of ask a general question through their film. For example, I asked Deepak Dobriyal about his experience in the industry through his film Sector 36.
What struck me is you play a character that's a bit in over his head. How do you maintain your own sanity and your own, level-headedness in this industry?
Because I respect the reactions the public gives me. You know that I'm not a biased actor. That I receive so many reactions from everywhere. So I'm not stuck on some reactions that I will I will give answer to only these certain questions. I want to understand all the people, all the emotions, all the expressions, and all the disturbance. So all the unrest. So I want to try to understand those things. So that's why that keeps me
Grounded.
grounded. So and humble or whatever you say.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
And I somehow managed to ask Rakesh Roshan about his Netflix documentary about his family, and I thought that was kind of a gem.
How did you feel after the documentary? Because it was so personal, and I felt like you really had to put yourself out there. And so I want to know, how has this documentary made you closer to your family?
No, we were always close.
Yeah.
So that's why we were so honest.
Yeah, it was really honest.
Yeah. So we are a very close family.
Yeah.
And we respect each other. We love each other. We discuss many things with each other. So though we are three individuals, but we are one.
I think depending on the film, it really helps to show passion. For example, I managed to interview the stars of La Pata Ladies on Netflix, and I just thought this was a lovely movie. And I let them know.
Your character walks the line between, she's never naive, she's always strong. And I just want to know for you, like, how has being part of this production inspired the type of projects you want to take on?
Well, working with American Productions was a dream come true because they're known for their powerful and beautiful stories. And to be a part of one of them, I think it's surreal for any actor. And I got it as my debut film, so it's like the cherry on top. And I love being a part of the film. It's such a beautiful story, such a beautiful character. The way you described it, it's so beautiful.
And this has been a unique year in terms of women's stories. And I just want to know, being part of this film, how has this inspired the type of films that you want to take on in the future?
I definitely feel responsible for being associated with projects which have something to convey, which have a message to convey. But more than anything, we belong to an industry which caters to entertainment. So any project that brings a smile on my audience's face, or spreads a message along with that, that's great. Otherwise, they definitely put a smile on audience's face, and they should be happy when they go back.
You've had a wonderful year, and congratulations.
And so if there's a particular movie you really love, let them know that you loved it, and I think that also creates a connection. Another movie I really, really loved this year is Girls Will Be Girls.
I loved Girls Will Be Girls.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful movie, very realistic portrayal of a young girl going through that type of phase in her life. And how do you think movies like this being greenlit, what does that say about the state of Indian cinema in general as they're becoming more open to more realistic stories, really?
Yeah. Especially for Indian cinema, I think it's been really nice, and the cinema is evolving. Definitely for us.
I think your movie, Apata Ladies and All We Imagine as Life, is the perfect trio.
Thank you.
I would love
We
to
think so.
add Shameless,
Yeah.
Midnight,
Midnight.
Sister Midnight, and Santosh to that list.
And I thought, and I let them know, I thought this was a really special film, and I thought it was really unique. And so that's also another way to connect. Again, I think discussing the movie and trying to find short questions related to it.
Something I absolutely love about Shri is friendship. And I just wanted to know from both of you, who do you rely on when you need someone to lean on?
Wow. I think we rely on our family. I can say the same thing about Apar. I think we love and we are very connected to our family. Though they don't stay with us, they're in different states. But I think that's the first call.
You do want your videos to be varied. You don't really want 10 people answering the same question. Another type of question you can ask, depending on the star, is their experience at the award show. For example, last year I interviewed Bobby Deol for Animal, and this year he was coming back as a presenter. So I was able to ask him about his opinion regarding the award show itself.
Last year you won, and I want to know for you, how has your perception of these award shows changed?
I think it's the love you get from the audiences. It's for them when you win an award. It makes them more happy. And I've always believed that whatever I am today is because of my fans. And it makes them so happy. That's why it gives me so much happiness.
One question. Also, what advice do you have for young actors that they're not getting where they need to be, and they.
Because it's very difficult. You just got to be disciplined and believe and manifest. You might not reach where you have to, but you'll reach closer to it. So never give up.
Now, this method really depends on how much time you have on the carpet and whether or not the star will give everyone the time. Like sometimes they're kind of in a rush. And so you do want to play it by ear. If you notice that someone is really kind of in a rush, then avoid long-winded questions because they can really backfire on you. For example, I asked Jaydeep Alawat about his film Maharaj. And this movie, like, as soon as he came on the carpet, he was just completely swamped. And as far as my question was concerned, I'll let you be the judge of that.
Congratulations on Maharaj. You play a man who takes advantage of others. How do you make sure that no one takes advantage of you in this industry?
Sorry, I didn't get.
Sorry, how do you make sure that no one takes advantage of you?
I don't get into their life. So I block myself from their life.
It was definitely, one of those moments where I'm like, I don't know why I asked that or why I thought that I had the time. Try to keep your questions very short, especially as more and more people start walking the carpet. And unfortunately for me, the longer the night went on, the worse my voice became. And shout out to Gajraj Rao, who came very late into the night, but he was quite patient considering that I literally was like, you could hear it in my voice.
What platform is this?
Hamza Ali, always watching.
Hi, Hamza. I'm not very fluent in English.
Okay.
So I think it won't work.
No, you're fine. What obstacle are you most proud of overcoming?
I know the life is full of obstacles.
In this industry.
It's a constant partner in your work. Obstacles are there. It is on a daily basis. Like sometimes you are dreaming for a role, or you're meeting a director, or you're expecting a part, it doesn't work out, or sometimes you work very hard for a part and it doesn't land properly on screen. Yeah.
And how has India's perception of its own cinema changed?
It has changed in last couple of years because of OTT.
Yeah.
It has become very democratic, very decentralized, because Indian audience is watching. Earlier, Indian audience used to see stories from Spain or Brazil or South Africa or Korea in film festivals or on torrent, like free downloads. But now you have option to watch a Spanish show, a movie, a Brazilian show, a Iranian movie, right on your mobile and iPad and on your TV. So that has changed.
Beautiful, thank you.
Thank you very much.
And he was just like looking at me like, oh, poor girl. Also, shout out to presenter Karen Singh Chabra, who could also see that I was really struggling.
You are such a good. How are you?
Thank you. Yeah, of course I remember Abu Dhabi. I think it just looks like yesterday.
It was yesterday.
It was yesterday.
Literally.
We meet again.
Oh my God. You're such a fantastic host and reporter. What advice do you have for people trying to get to your level and develop that skill? Because it comes so naturally to you. But I know you've worked many years to get there. So what advice do you have?
My advice would be just be shameless. Be unapologetic. I have lost my voice into me. I was just dancing with Madhuri Dixit inside and Nora. Just give your best. Believe in yourself, and that's why I think you'll become a little more shameless, because if you believe in yourself, the world will. And I think that's the only advice I would like to give people who want to host, want to act, want to create content. I'm doing everything. Let's just rock it.
Beautiful. Thank you, sir.
And despite the circumstances, he was very kind and answered my question. And in terms of how I actually lost my voice, when I landed in Jaipur, I had a bit of a sore throat, and I made the mistake of buying medication, like over-the-counter medication from this very shady pharmacy. And I feel like that's what took out my voice, because I didn't have any fever, any headaches, anything like that. It was just my voice. And so this is a side note, but make sure to pack all the cold medications, painkillers, whatever you need, because depending on where you are in the world, trying to get these more branded Medications will be next to impossible. Worst case, try to heal yourself the natural way. Just take some rest. If I could go back in time, I would have skipped the press conference and only gone to the green carpet to save my energy and my voice. But because you're there for such a short period of time, you want to just experience everything and go everywhere. And that was also a mistake. And again, as the night went on, my questions just naturally got shorter and shorter. Another pro tip is try to have a set of generic questions you can pretty much ask anyone. I advise you ask as many people as possible a question because you don't know where that soundbite will come from. These shorter questions should be a bit cringe. The difference between a sit-down interview and a red carpet interview is you're looking for soundbites, something fun and short that could potentially go viral. A good strategy is to use ChatGPT to shorten your questions. Some easy questions you can ask is, for example, what's your favorite on-set memory?
I think surprisingly when I died.
I think always the first season was very special because it was all very new for us, and that will always make me smile because we were so raw and we were so stupid, but it worked.
Running into the water.
How do you stay so confident?
When your conscience is clear and you have no guilt, it's easy to be confident.
What movie stood out to you and why?
I guess it would have to be 12th Fail. It was a very well written and well played out film.
Well, I have been working and shooting and filming, but I know that Patal Lok 2 season 2 is fabulous. I'm yet to watch that, so I can't wait to watch that. But I haven't really seen anything yet. I watched Chhava, which is absolutely fantastic. But that's the one thing that comes to mind.
And how do you think streaming has really increased the quality of not just television but content in general?
Well, there's incredible, quality coming out of all the content because there's so much scope for different kinds of stories and different roles and different faces. There's an explosion of talent.
What excites you about this generation of young actors?
Well, they are extremely hardworking and extremely well prepared.
Yeah.
And I find that exciting. I worked with Shreya, who won yesterday, Shreya Chaudhary, who won for Bandish Bandits 2, and Avinash Tiwari are from this generation. Amazingly prepared actors and discipline. I mean, there's no other way to do it.
You can also ask general questions about streaming and how the award show has grown over the years.
What surprised you the most about how India's perception of its own films has changed?
Well, I think IIFA has, put us on a global map for sure. And I think hats off to Andre Viraf Sabas who have done this for the last 25 years. They continue to do it on such a big platform. And they give us every year, such a big stage to showcase our talent, to come and connect with all of you all. I think a big thank you is just all that I can say.
And it was really funny because last year they divided the press. So for example, international press, we were in one room, Indian press had another room, and mainstream press were in another area. This year we were all together. And so I think some stars assumed that we were all from the Indian press. And so sometimes I would ask a question in English and I would get a response in a different language.
What excites you the most about the future of Indian cinema, especially with streaming making Indian movies way more popular around the world?
जिस तरह से स्ट्रीमिंग लोगों तक पहुंचा है वो मुझे बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग फैक्ट लगता है कि ओटीटी का, जैसे कि हम लोग पहले जो डाउन साउथ में फिल्म्स बनती हैं, मलयालम फिल्म्स बनती हैं, उन हम लोग बहुत कम देखते थे, बट बिकॉज ऑफ ओटीटी रिलीजेस हम लोग वो चीज़ देखने को मिली और हम काफ़ी सारी चीज़ें सीख रहे हैं वहाँ के सिनेमा से. एंड वो एक बहुत ही बहुत सारी रिफ्रेशिंग स्टोरीज हमें देखने को मिल रही हैं डाउन साउथ से. वो उसका बहुत बड़ा रीज़न स्ट्रीमिंग है. तो मुझे लगता है कि स्ट्रीमिंग बहुत सारी चीज़ें चेंज करेगा और हमें और हमारा कंटेंट बहुत बेहतर होगा.
Thank you.
I thought that was really funny because I would just have to look really engaged and kind of subtitle it later. If you don't know who someone is on the carpet, usually the people around you will be helpful. Something I noticed the second time covering this award show is that you have stars that attend both nights and they are very happy to answer questions from pretty much everyone. I noticed that particularly with Noura Fatah.
Laura, it's so wonderful to see you again. And every year this has gotten bigger and you've been here from the beginning.
Yes.
And what have you seen this year that has really inspired you, either listened to or watched, that
you just that makes you want to be better?
A lot of things inspire me on a daily basis. When I see a lot of, so I follow a lot of artists, and when I see their growth, I get inspired to also push myself and to grow further and further, and to expand on my ambitions.
Okay, beautiful.
Thank you.
And what makes you like? Obviously, you're performing again today. How has coming back to IFA every year, like, really improved your own performance skills and really inspired you to keep developing?
Oh, it allows me to step up my game every time because I've been performing for 4 years. This is my fourth year performing, and I'm always like, okay, how do I beat the previous year? So it pushes me, and I love that. And of course, whenever I come, I feel good because being a part of IFA just it means a lot. It really says a lot about your status as an artist. And Andre and the whole team, they're so loving and supportive of me, and they always include me, and I appreciate that.
And Taha, Shah, Badusha. And I think next time I see them, I'm gonna have questions specifically for them. And that's something else you'll notice, like certain stars will, like if you don't talk to them the first night, they'll talk to you the second night. And these two in particular really struck out at me because I remember when I was covering the UAE, they were also very kind to stop for everyone. Now, the actual carpet, I don't know how to describe it, but it's an epic mess. You have people there who are genuinely trying to ask questions and do their job. And then you have a whole set of influencers who are there just to get selfies and pictures. And the selfie thing to me was crazy because you would have people who just, they didn't have a single question to ask, but they were ready for that selfie. And surprisingly, the stars were really nice about offering them that selfie. And I don't know, maybe it's a cultural thing, I'm not sure. But I'm just like, are you not working? Like maybe ask the question first and then the selfie, but the selfie always came first, which I don't know why. I could never do that personally, but go off. I think for freelancers, attending shows like this is a massive risk because there's really no guarantee that you will get the soundbite that you're looking for. And what's worse is if something goes wrong, for example, if you lose your voice, you're gonna have to do it anyways, whether you're sick, tired, exhausted. It's your money that you're spending. And so you're just gonna have to push through regardless. However, I do think these types of shows are worth going to, especially if they are within your proximity. I think being around people who love film is always a pleasure, and also learning new tips and strategies from professionals who have been doing this a long time. I mean, it's a roller coaster of emotions because sometimes your questions hit, sometimes your questions don't hit, and it really forces you to get outside of your comfort zone. I think my favorite part of covering this event is all the other journalists I got to talk to. And it's such a surprisingly supportive community. I had so many heart-to-heart conversations that I will never forget and really just altered my perspective. One journalist that I was standing next to on the second night, who goes by the name That Bollywood Buff on Instagram, I strongly suggest you follow him. I mean, this guy was an encyclopedia. He knew everything. Like, he was able to help me formulate better questions. And I asked him, I'm like, how do you prepare for something like this? And he looked at me and he said something along the lines of, this is all I know. And in that moment, I had like complete imposter syndrome. He mentioned how he grew up on movies and his grandmother had started this tradition. And now he works as a journalist covering different events, writing about different film. At one point, he mentioned how grateful he was to be able to do this job. Simply watching the movie early and interviewing people in itself is a great pleasure. And I really felt that because not that long ago, attending a red carpet, let alone covering a red carpet, would have been so out of reach for me. And now I was doing it with complete audacity without a voice. So shout out to me. But I really felt his love, the way he would reference each film. It felt deeply personal. And I think for me, I grew up on Hollywood films, not on, like, I'm not well versed in Indian cinema, which is part of my motivation for wanting to come. And now that I've relocated to the Middle East, I've noticed most of the films in theaters are Indian movies. And so by force, I've had to kind of familiarize with myself. And I feel almost ashamed. There's so many people that I would never have heard of unless I moved here. And I think that's why streaming is so great. It allows audiences to explore and discover on their own. When I left the event, even last year, I felt so motivated to learn more and discover new content. And I think for film critics and journalists, it's really important that you are aware and you are interested in things outside of what you normally cover. Now, in the context of IIFA, when do you know it's time to wrap it up? When Shah Rukh Khan arrives. Now, this year he arrived way too early, and as a result, everyone was screaming at him. And because I didn't have a voice, I was just, all I could do was watch in horror and disappointment. I never felt so defeated in my entire life because he was like within arm's reach. And I know if I had the voice, I definitely could have I would have asked him, what does it take to be a great entertainer these days? Like, I had my question ready. I just didn't have the voice to project. And so all I could do was watch, and he walked one way and then he walked back. So I had 2 chances to scream at him. I just couldn't do it. My voice was gone. The only benefit of Shah Rukh Khan showing up early is that we got to watch the show. And so we ended up catching his performance, something I was unable to do last year. And it was pretty epic. They did not spare a dime. And it was such a surreal experience. And one of the benefits of covering this event is you get free tickets. And no one really talks to you once you have the media badge. So you are able to kind of get closer. And so I was just watching in awe, like a total fangirl. And I caught the beginning, middle, and end of the show. And so for that, it was well worth it. And honestly, it was a perfect night in Jaipur. The temperature it wasn't too cold, it wasn't too hot. And depending on your time, you might want to cover the carpet and then catch the show, because usually they start the show quite late. And so you can kind of divide your time between the carpet and the show on both nights if you're looking for a more holistic experience. But if you're there as a journalist and a reporter, your priority has to be the green carpet. Now, I ended up leaving, I think, around 3 a.m. I couldn't get an Uber till like 4 a.m. And I'm not gonna lie, like, it was packed, but I felt totally comfortable, totally safe. And honestly, it was one of the best nights, one of the craziest nights, because I just didn't have a voice, but it was still extremely satisfying. Thankfully for me, my checkout was quite late because I asked the hotel if I could check out late. And I'm not gonna lie, I felt like absolute death by the end of it. I don't know how people vlog and talk when they're sick. Like, I would have loved to have video detailing how I felt, but I just did not have the energy. Now, overall, would I do it again? Absolutely. You live and you learn. And I think these award shows are just as important for artists as they are for journalists and content creators. It's such a great opportunity to celebrate your own efforts and also spotlight work you feel was possibly overlooked. For me, covering the IIFA Awards and watching all these nominated films and shows really gave me a newfound respect for the country and made a country that I felt was previously inaccessible to me easy. Like, I never imagined I'd be Ubering all by myself in India, having a blast. Like, I felt totally at home by the end. I think that's the beauty of cinema. It makes people and places that were very unfamiliar familiar, and it makes you want to go out and explore. And so if you are a freelancer or journalist and this show is within your proximity, I do recommend applying for media accreditation and covering it, because honestly, like, you will have a crazy time. You will be exhausted. You will kind of lose your mind. But it's like weirdly worth it. So you guys let me know what you think, and until next time.